My favorite dish growing up, and we had it a few times a year, was saba. Saba is a mackerel fillet, and it's broiled, and it's very oily and very fishy, and it's just delicious. And when you cook it, it stinks up the whole house. So nowadays, when I prepare it outside and bring it in.
Nice. Who cooked that dish?
Oh, my mom.
Your mom cooked the dish?
Yes.
And how many mackerel would you eat when you ate?
Oh, I mean, typically it's like you get a fillet and it's one side of the fish, and they're about maybe this big. And
then what are the sides that you would have with that dish?
Oh, well, traditionally you have some grated daikon radish with it, some soy sauce, of course, gohan rice, a vegetable of some sort, maybe spinach, boiled spinach, and of course you start out with some miso soup. Yeah, so that was one of my favorites.
And then how often would you have this dish?
I'd say maybe every 2 or 3 months we'd have that. Mm-hmm. Well, I met my wife way back when, and she learned how to prepare it too. So, and my mom was still alive then. So it wasn't like something that I just brought forward, but it's a family thing.
Okay.
When we had guests, my mom would typically make sukiyaki and or tempura. And the sukiyaki was a beef dish, and it's prepared on an electric skillet on the table, so you watch it cook. So that was a fun thing to watch. Yeah, so I learned how to make that too.
And can you describe what it is for people?
Oh, sure. You have yam noodles, bamboo shoots, very, very thinly sliced beef. You start it with a chunk of beef suet in the pan, and you get all the oils and everything out of that. And then you take that out, and you don't leave it in there. And then there's tofu, green onions. There might be another. Some people put carrots in it. I don't think my mom did. But those are the main things that are in there. So, and then the sauce, of course, there's shoyu or soy sauce, a little bit of sugar, some water. And it probably takes, for everything to cook all the way through, probably 15 or 20 minutes. And then you're just serving from that to everybody's plate. Yeah. Yes, I do it now, yes. And I do it for not very often, because it's kind of a labor-intensive thing, and there's a lot of ingredients. You got to go get them and all that. But yeah, sometimes we'll have, maybe only once or twice a year, we'll have that at our house with some friends over. Yeah.
And so when you eat it, is there a feeling that you get?
Well,
can you describe that?
Yeah.
It's hard, I know.
I guess, yeah, it kind of brings back memories. One interesting thing about my family is I'm a Japanese terms, hafu, meaning I'm half Japanese and half something else. So my father was a Caucasian man, hence my French last name. And he met my mom in Japan during the Korean War time. He was a soldier. Anyways, he loved Japanese food, so we had Japanese food all the time. I mean, we ate Japanese food like 4 or 5 times a week, and he liked it all. So, yeah. So, but what was curious is I have some friends like me, and at least in one case, my best friend from high school days, they didn't eat Japanese food in their home because the dad didn't care for it. So, so everybody's experiences are different. I grew up near Monterey, California. And there's a lot of people whose dads were in the military. There was a army base there named Fort Ord. And a lot of people just settled there after they retired from the Army, which was the case for my family as well. Yeah.
Sounds like a lovely place to grow up.
Yeah. Oh, one fun memory for me as a kid was there were 2 Japanese markets in Monterey. And when you walk into a Japanese market, at least in those days, there's this characteristic smell to them. It's like the dried fish smell and a bunch of other things, you know. And so that was great. That was great, yeah. We always used to buy, there's these little candies that had a little prize on top, and the candies themselves, they have a wrapping that's actually edible. So it's like a rice paper or something, and it melts in your mouth. So yeah, so I remember that too. That was fun.
And Joe, when did you move to Oregon?
That happened in 1989.
Okay.
My wife and I were living in Crescent City, California, which is just south of Brookings. And I was working for the Forest Service then, and then I had a chance for a promotion, and I came to the Mount Hood National Forest. So we've been in Gresham ever since, and I'm retired from the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management now for, holy smokes, 11 years now, I think. 12 maybe? Yeah.
Did you go foraging when you were working in the Forest Service ever?
You know, I really didn't do that. I mean, I started just near the end of my career. My friend and neighbor Bill Otani, he started an annual matsutake mushroom hunt, sponsored through the Historical Society, I believe. And early on, I was one of the drivers in the vans and everything, and it was tons of fun too. We alternated between going to the coast in the dunes area and up to Mount Hood. And so I met a lot of nice folks and heard lots of stories about when they were kids and they would go matsutake hunting and that sort of thing.
Is this Bill Otani Sr. that you would go do this with?
Oh, well, his son, Bill Otani Jr., well, he doesn't go by Junior, but, yeah, his dad would come with us. And I mean, I remember him being out there at 100 years old, walking up and down the hills, and, you know, somebody was always right next to him in case, you know, he started slipping or something. But, yeah, it was amazing.
How many people would go on these mushroom huntings?
Oh, I would say sometimes there could be between 40 and 50 people. Yeah, and we had, you know, expert mushroom identifiers and Forest Service botanists came to make sure that nobody took anything home that wasn't going to be edible and or dangerous. And so, and we'd find things actually we found more chanterelles than we did matsutakes. So, sometimes the matsutake are scarce, but we had tons of fun. And then we'd have it was an overnighter when we did it at the coast, so we had a motel room, and then we'd have a big get-together for dinner, and people would make some of their matsutake dishes, like matsutake rice and grilled matsutake and matsutake soup, and, you know, the various ways that people make that.
What else would you eat with your matsutake?
Oh, we would grill some chicken. We would have, Bill would bring a big, like a bushel of oysters on the shell, and we'd grill them too. And some vegetable side dishes as well. So yeah, we had lots of good food there. It's interesting. You know, I didn't do this when I was a child because where I grew up, there weren't like big pine forests and matsutake. And my mom said she did this when she was growing up in Japan because she grew up on Mount Fuji in the pine forest. But we didn't go mushroom hunting when I was a child because there weren't that kind of mushrooms around there. You know, the people that we're with who grew up around here say, oh yeah, my dad told us do not, you know, just say in general terms, oh, we got them on Mount Hood, not road number such and such, milepost, whatever, you know, that sort of thing. So it's kind of funny that way.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to say one more thing. The rice balls. every time we went somewhere to the beach or you know, just on an outing, we would always have onigiri rice balls, yeah, with the ume in the middle, the pickled plums.
Always ume? Did you ever have anything else inside?
Oh, well, if we had leftover teriyaki salmon or something, my mom would stick a little bit of that in there. A couple times, but mostly it was the plum.
And then did you always have the seaweed on the outside?
Yeah, the nori, yeah, always a nori. And they were all shaped like this.
Did your mom salt the rice, or did she put her hands in water with salt water and do it, or did she sprinkle it?
She sprinkled salt on them on the outside, yeah. Mm-hmm. And sometimes a little bit of black sesame seeds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how I got to here was my wife and I had volunteered for the Mochitsuki festival that happens in January, and they had a free dinner at a restaurant for the volunteers, and then each person who came to that free dinner at a restaurant got a bag of goodies, and then my wife got a bag and I got a bag, and so in that bag was 2 coupons for a free meal at a konakai, which I wasn't even aware of a konakai at that time. If I'd known about it, I would have been here a lot sooner, at least to eat, never mind the volunteering. But anyway, I walk in the door and it's, you know, if somebody sees a new person, everybody gathers around, they ask you about your family, they want to know your family name because they try to picture, or they try to connect it to a family that they grew up with in the Portland area. And so, but I didn't have that experience. I grew up in California. And anyway, so I got to be, you know, friends with a number of people here. And Ray, who you'll meet later, who helps me with the dishwashing, he was already a dishwasher here, but he didn't have a partner. And it works a lot better if there's 2 people doing that, one washing and the other one drying and putting away. And so he just asked me if I wanted to do that. And I said, well, you know, I have a little experience. When I was a senior in high school, I washed dishes at a Chinese restaurant on Friday and Saturday nights. So he said, oh, great. so here I am every other Friday and filling in as needed.